women, and I made a pass for them, and all for what? No, I thought, you know what? No, I can save them. I can save them. It was really arrogant and narcissistic for me to ever think that. So I think it was, and let's be real, they're not in proximity of me. They're like the red pill guys or the toxic social media channels. So they're not going to hold me accountable, quote unquote. They're not really people that I need to be seeking out for. It wasn't until I, you know, made a conscious choice. Okay, let me talk to actual brothers who can actually put me on game, who can actually help me to be the me that I need to be. And like I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to get away from trying to be Mr. Perfect or trying to put on a performance. But I just said it to say this because I think obviously the whole conversation was about, the whole men are trash. I get it. And, women need to be. It, I can understand me. I'm in a space where there are multiple women and a man telling another woman, pick and choose better. It sounds like, it's easy for you to say. It's not. It's not easy for me to say be accountable, because that's the hardest thing you have to do, to look at yourself and understand maybe you're not really the person that you think you are. Maybe you got a lot of healing to do. Maybe, just maybe, you need to come off your high horse. Maybe you really need to look at yourself deeply to assess what are some of the things that you did that contributed to your own downfall in the relationship you chose to pick. It's not that easy, but it's a lot more satisfying when you can actually be real with yourself for a moment, and then you can heal from that place and then rise again. So yeah, that's just my thought process.
Yeah, man, I love what you just said there, bro, because I think, like I said, when we talk about the men's next week, it's going to be a very powerful conversation, because we can have anecdotal stuff that we can bring into it. But what you just shared is a very powerful aspect, because you're describing the fact that sometimes we think we're better than we actually are. And then relationships expose us as we're not that great. We're not that great as we thought we were, And I think that be the kicker, you know what I'm saying? Should that be the kicker oftentimes as well? Because when you're in a relationship, and like you, bro, like I've made decisions where I'm like, I didn't realize I've made decisions from a traumatic place. You know what I'm saying too? And it's funny because I was in Ghana, obviously, I was still misbehaving a little bit. God obviously has changed my mind now. I've got to behave myself now, guys. But my time in Egypt was very interesting. But one of the things that really interested me the other time was that there was a situation with two women that approached me, and they were both beautiful. And one of them that approached me, was very vivacious, caring. Actually, energy was just right. And then I remember, because she was the first one that danced to me, I was talking to her and da-da-da. But then she just started like behaving distant. Now, listen, please, don't judge me, but judge me. Obviously, her friend was obviously talking to me as well. So, obviously, her friend was talking to me, and her friend just gave me just consistent energy. And I know it was like a moment that hit me, right? And there's a lesson in this. There's a lesson in this, by the way. I'm telling the story, but it's a lesson. I chose a second friend. Now, in the past, I would have chose the first one, because she would have validated the wound that I would have had, which is I need to prove that I can prove that if you don't like me, I'm gonna make you like me. There's that push and pull effect, right? Where she would have triggered me to want to get her. And as soon as I saw her energy went off, I said, take it for what it is. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to heal it. Don't try to be a Superman. Leave it alone. She's shown you her energy. Maybe you're seeing it wrong. It doesn't make a difference. Go for the second one. In the past, I would have never done that, because I would have seen the first one and I would be even more intrigued by the first one. Why not? I must figure this one out. This one is a paradox. It's a Rubik's Cube. I want to figure out the Rubik's Cube. And see, so when I made that choice to choose the second one, and it was like a few days later, I said, oh my gosh, I made a different choice than I usually do. I would have chosen the first one normally, because that Rubik's Cube interests me. It gets me drawn in. It gets my Superman complex running, ready to try and understand them, figure out the flame.
Bro. Man, do you know what it also was? Now you're speaking, you know what it's even for me, like the whole Superman thing? I found it so difficult to be vulnerable about my true feelings for real, because I'll say this, I always be speaking so much about generalities as if I know everything when I don't, like doing this whole moral thing, biblical thing, like talking like, oh, them, oh, you're a Bible believing Christian, that you know everything. But I'll be speaking in such generalities when really I was masking things that I was going through. So I'll be telling people what I'm going through, but without actually referencing me. I'll be talking that as if I'm like delivering some type of sermon or speech or everything. I'll expect all of them to be telling me what they're going through. But then I would never, I would be more like giving them advice, even though it was more about me just trying to, I felt it was inauthentic. I was like really putting on an act of trying to be the perfect guy, like that superhero complex. Like, let me be the one to actually say, you know, my thoughts. It's like now being in a relationship, like I said, I'm still working on it, so to speak. But I think when I began to, okay, I'm still learning on, you know, saying it's okay for me to be vulnerable. It's okay for me to just exist in a space where I can at least take off that armor and actually show my true self. That I'm a guy with flaws, a guy that makes mistakes, that I have my corny tendencies, I have quirky aspects about myself. Like, I can be comical, I can be this. I don't have to be the 100% guy to try and please. I can just be me. And I think, let's be real, I think when you come from African households, parents, if you just grew up in strict parents, like where you're expected to behave a certain type of way, it informs the way that you try. It informed the way that I tried to relate to others, because I wanted the attention, I wanted the love, I wanted the respect. And sometimes I'm like thinking, is this like selfish ambition? Am I doing too much? So yeah, like that Superman thing, I can really relate towards that. And because I would not be picking a woman that's quote unquote healed, I'd be like, no, I feel that's kind of too much for me.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I was thinking about a situation a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, there was a girl I was talking to. I spoke to a lot of women, that's the problem. But I spoke to a couple of years ago, and beautiful girl, smooth, but she was just so secure. I said, there's not enough toxicity around here. I need more of that toxicity. I'm sorry. You know, and I didn't say it like that, like in terms of toxicity, but I said it in the sense of there's something off here. It's like, it didn't feel safe, but it's safe. Like the person was just a good person. They were beautiful. I was attracted, but I felt like I was like, we're missing the spark. And I actually deeped it. There was no spark missing. I realized she had two solid parents who cared about her, loved her. There is none of those wounds that I'm carrying. That is what I was really sensing. What I was sensing was somebody who's secure. And I instantly wanted to repel that. And I realized, whoa, bro, like, you have to deep it, you know, that a lot of people, even if they met somebody who's secure, will push that person away because it doesn't have the same trimmings. It doesn't have the same, you know, even there's a type of banter that those of us who've got an insecure attachment have. There's a type of chemistry that a lot of us have. A lot of it's traumatic. It's like, I need you to pull a little bit so I can chase a little bit and grab you. But you know, and there's a healthy aspect of that, and there's an unhealthy aspect of that, pushing and pulling. And so I was looking for a bit more of that oomph from her. She had the oomph, but I was just unhealed and I couldn't see it. And I always think to this day, I was like, damn, had I been more healed? And you know, also at the same time, I was like, I'm single and I want to just be here. Don't lie to you. And but I always said that if I feel it, I feel it. I know that's the right person. And I realized, you know, I couldn't see her through the fog. This girl was beautiful. I don't understand why is it, coach? Why can't you commit? And it's only when I started doing the work around attachment styles that I realized, oh brother, you could not see it because she was secure. She came from a loving home. Yes. She came from a home where her parents cared about her. She could advocate for herself. She wasn't trying to make you mind read. In fact, I didn't have to mind read. She would tell me. You know what I mean? The girl was so comfy. We even went for coffee and she was so laughy and jokey. We went to Selfridges. We bought some stuff. We chilled. We did normal things. And you think to yourself, rah, like, you know what, coach, just the one, settle down with this one right here, come out the game. I made all the excuses. Oh, maybe she needs a couple more years. You know what I'm saying to you? Okay, maybe, maybe, you know what? Maybe you need a bit more. Someone who's a bit more pushing you a little bit harder. Like she might be a little bit too.
Oh, like a fool.
I was making so many excuses, and again, all of that was coming from a unhealed space. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because, and of course, like I said, I didn't. Once I realized that, I just said to her, "Listen, babe, I'm not the right kind of guy. I still want to be friends, but you go on about your life. Because of me personally, I'm not about to ruin anybody. You know what I'm saying to you? But again, people can move in from an unhealed space and actually reject the very thing that they want because it doesn't present itself in the way that you think it should present itself. So it didn't have. I mean, listen, when we met on a dance floor. You think to yourself, "This is perfect. Kojo, this is perfect. Ghanaian, she met you on the dance floor. Why are you not going for it?" Because I just couldn't recognize it. I couldn't. It didn't speak the same language I was speaking at the time. It did not speak the values that I had at the time, and because of my own self-worth and self-esteem issues, I had to cause her to like, "Hey, go your way." You know what I'm saying to you, like, you do your thing, and instead of actually really seeing the opportunity that was presented before me, you know what I mean? Listen, these things happen. You have to take accountability for these things.
It's true, man. It's true, and I think with that. I think it's also with accountability, it requires you to be in a place where you want to learn and learning from people that are healed as well too. Because I'll tell you, when you think you know it all, and I've learned all on the hard way, it's like you really don't. The fact that I remember times when I've shared things I've gone through with my girl, she always said this, and surprised that I've never heard this before. Keep in mind, I'm 31 years old and I've never heard this before in my entire life. She said, "A burden shared is a burden halved." And I'm like, when I heard that for the very first time, I'm like, who is this person? Like, I'm meant to be the one giving advice. How is it that you're giving me advice? But she was speaking from a place of genuine wisdom and like real talk. She is someone who is willing to talk about her flaws, willing to talk about things that she goes through. She was more healed than me, who was more caught about just having this mask of perfection because I was afraid that if I show you my flaws, I feel like I'm not going to be worthy. I feel like you're not going to see the value in me. And I was so caught about trying to control everything. At one point, I was even trying to control when I was going to tell her that I loved her.
Yeah, I remember.
That's the thing. Like but when I told her, it happened at a time where I wasn't even expecting to just say it out loud. It just came out. And the funny thing is, she knew how I felt about it, but because I was so caught about trying to control, like in love, in a healthy relationship, there is no trying to control how you feel about somebody. There is none. In a healthy relationship, it just flows out like water. It just flows. But if you're not in that place of healing, you're always going to try and want to get a one up on someone. You're always going to try. And that's where I was at a time. But now, as time is progressing, it's like, I'm still working, still growing, but it's like, it's giving me, being where I am in this relationship, it's allowing me to be human, not be a robot.
Yeah, bro, you touched on some things, man. You know what I mean? I think this is key stuff that we're breaking down, because again, we're talking about being accountable for choices and stuff, and I think that you're right. The perfectionist spirit will lock you up. Think about other people's feelings will lock you up. I've had to go on my own little journey on that as well. To learn how to do that. It's not so simple, but you grow and you learn over time, and you have to, like you said, you have to want to learn. And I think that's the driving force for me. And I think Ellis kind of spoke about this earlier on as well, which is, if I get something wrong, I want to be able to learn because I don't like getting things wrong. So I don't want to be in the same place getting it wrong again. I actually do want to actually learn, in that space and be able to get it right. And sometimes that can be scary, you know what I mean? Because, you may have the information, but you're afraid of the journey you have to take to be able to do that. Like I said, last year, when I'll be able to tell the story in full in a couple of years' time. But I'm going to tell you, last year, like I said, I was me and a girl were going back and forth about some issues, and not necessarily a bad way, but in the sense of like I didn't realize how much I struggled with sharing feelings. So I can tell you I love you, but after that, but it's like the deeper ones that I feel like, you know what I'm saying, Chu? Like it's a deeper feelings, Alicia. You funny, Alicia. It's a deeper feelings that, you know, like if I'm feeling vulnerable, or, you know, sometimes I'd even like to, if you've done something to me where it's hurt me, and I'm like, I don't know how to say it. You know what I'm saying, Chu? My avoidancy wants to kick in first. My avoidance is like, let's just avoid that situation. And I remember the Lord was kind of working through this as well. I was doing therapy. I was talking to the Lord about this. And I was getting into situations where I had to learn on the job how to be able to start communicating how I felt. And let me tell you this now, I never felt so much freedom in my entire life. I cannot tell you how much freedom to tell someone, listen, I can't lie to you, you're making me angry. These things are making me angry, and then be able to communicate that in a way that lands correctly too, because that's also a difficult thing, right? Learning how to deliver a message. And this is why I was talking with Ellis as well and Gobe, and I was describing it, saying that I learned so many things last year because I had to deal with somebody who was more fearful avoidant, and realizing that you can't just do anything. You had to create the way you moved, the way you spoke about issues. I had to learn how to deliver a message, almost like when you're in the office. Like you got to deliver it in a way that still uplifts them. I hadn't done it before, because when I deliver the message, I'm delivering the message. It has been delivered. Message. You know what I'm saying to you? Receive them. You know what I'm saying to you? Go bus. Because I'm delivering with the same gusto that you delivered the nonsense you delivered it. But not realizing that as a leader, you can't do that. But two, knowing that as a man, there's power dynamics between you and a woman. Number three, also seeing how she responded when that happened. You know, like there's something when you care about someone that when it lands in a particular way, you even become sad yourself because you see how sad they are. You know what I'm saying, Chu? Because for me, a major thing is if I'm in a relationship with you, like, and maybe this is also partly trauma. I know this as well as partly trauma. I really value trust. Like it is. You will not find any woman that's around me that I will tell you that they don't feel trustworthy around me. It's one of my main things that I roll with. Like if you are somebody who's a woman that's around me, whether you're a friend, if you've dated me in the past, okay, maybe not in the beginning, you know, when I was 18, maybe not. But in the past, you'll know that one thing they'll say about me is they felt safe around me. So when I start seeing or hearing that you don't feel safe, I'm losing my ish. Because what do you mean? Okay. And I remember this girl was saying this to me, like, you know, at times, sometimes she doesn't feel safe. And I'm like, yeah, of course you're not feeling safe because you're doing things that are wrong. Why would you not feel safe? Like, why would you feel safe? Who feels safe after they do things wrong? And you don't realize that what she was describing was not that she did something wrong. It is what she was describing was the way that I reacted. You know, I've got my guardian father in me, you know, and that the guardian father don't play. You know what I'm saying to you? You do something wrong, they are strict with it and let you know that you're wrong. That approach with the situations. And I remember she said to me, like, you know, that it doesn't feel safe. And I was like, you don't get out of here with that don't feel safe nonsense because you're out here moving mad. Why would it feel safe? And I had to really sit with it for a while because I didn't have the tools at the time to be able to even change that. I had to look at it and go, what does that even mean? And so then I went to research it and I was like, okay, I physically went to Google and onto YouTube and I said, how do you deliver a message to somebody that's very hard? And I watched about 6 or 7 different videos. That is how I created my own definition of how to have a hard conversation. I sat there and I watched and listened to it. I said, these guys are just wasting time. I mean, you're here telling me about say something nice and then talk about emotion. There's nothing to be emotional about. The thing needs to be delivered. You understand? It needs to be delivered. That's what needs to happen. You're wasting time talking about emotions. Emotions can cry sometimes, but we need to deliver this message. I say that to say, I'm joking around about it, I'm saying that to say that in a sense of it was a steep learning curve. You get what I'm saying too? And it's funny because I was hypocritical because I wouldn't want the message to be delivered the way I delivered it. Oh hell no! Come and see. Deliver the message the way I delivered it. You see if I don't cuss you out.
Yeah.
Probably my thing was I'm not gonna even do the mess in the first place to get you to that stage. You know what I'm saying to you? But either way, I had that steep learning curve. And my final point I'm going to say is that I think that for men out there as well who are listening, I'm sure a lot of the good men have the same kind of thought process. It's like I remember there was one time that really changed my. There's two things that happened with this young lady that changed my whole perspective on things, and changed me for the better. Right. Number one, we had I wouldn't say an argument. She told me something. She said she was sensitive about it. I was like, what? Because the thing was just so trivial. I was just like, sensitive. I just started cracking up, lad. Because we didn't know each other that well, but still, I started cracking up. And I remember I was cackling. And she was like, so you're really laughing? I said, yes! What you said is funny. What do you mean? I'm cackling. And then she's like, and so my dismissive when it kicked in, she's like, I just feel like you don't care. And immediately as I heard that, I said, we're not going to do that. We're not here going to be twisting me, manipulating me with your emotions. Please, I'm not here for it. I said, listen, I'm not the one. You're not gonna twist me with emotions. You're not about to get me all riled up with your emotions. I said, if you want to get like that, you can just leave it there. I said, you can leave it there. I can end the call now. I said, we can end the call there if you need to end the call. I don't care if you want to end the call. You know what she did? She did not end the call. This girl stayed on the phone with me in silence. And let me tell you this, hey. And when it happened, yeah, in my head I'm like, I was expecting her to leave, because actually it would have helped me. Once she left, I don't have to think about this issue again, and it would have reset the conversation. I would have come back in power. Yeah, you will come back, and I'll come back as normal. That's what I was thinking. You know what I mean?
You were playing fine.
I'm not going to apologize because I don't think it was that deep. But again, I'm misinterpreting her feelings, right? So she sat there it was like a good 15. I'm sure it was just silence. And I was gymming at the time as well, so I don't really mind. I was gymming. So it's a good silence for 15. And then she just says, hey, I just wanted you to understand where I was coming from. The tone that she took of me, I broke. I said, wait, because I'm expecting that you're now going to cuss me out. I am expecting that. I'm expecting that because I'm expecting a violent argument. That's usually what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I'm expecting it. She just said, listen, I can't lie to you. I was really hurt by what you said. I really was I was being honest about how I felt, and you didn't really hear me out.
Did it make you feel guilty?
Guilty is not even the word. I was deep. I was so deep.
Oh my gosh.
Because she spoke to I expected to be told off. You know what I'm saying to you? Because halfway when I started laughing, halfway through, what pissed me off the more is that I'm already halfway laughing, and you're trying to tell me not to laugh. I don't like being controlled. So I was like, I'm already halfway in. So I'm going all the way in. So I'm now expecting. I'm actually expecting you to cuss me out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm expecting you to cuss me out, and I'm gonna cuss you back, and then we will come and have this conversation maybe in 4 days' time. I need some distance to reset myself. We'll come back and have the conversation. I was expecting that. So when she said that, I said, "Oh." I just said, "I'm really, really sorry. I didn't actually hear it. I didn't hear you the first time properly the way I should have." It's not that I felt bad. I just said, it was grace. That's what I'm saying. It felt like someone had given me grace in this moment. I expected you to cuss me out, but you didn't. And from that day onwards, I said, oh my God, no. When I'm dealing with her, I need to really listen. Now, I'm not going to say I got it perfect every single time. But what I'm saying to you is, that changed things for me, because two things that she did. It was a tone and what she said, and then she sat in silence. I expect people to abandon me. I'm not going to lie to you. When we have an argument, I expect you to leave. I expect you to go. I expect you to distance yourself, because I also feel uncomfortable. That's my own wound. So when she sat with me, it just healed something. I said, oh my God, so you really in this? We don't even know each other like that, but you in this? Oh, you really in this? Oh. And so now I'm responding to her differently, because I know that you're not leaving. I expect you to leave. You get what I'm saying to you? So, I expect you to reject me in a sense. That's my core wound. So in that space now, the conversations were now, I'm like, damn, it's crazy that how we're doing it. And so it's funny, because a year later, me and my sister had an argument, and there was a big ass argument, about something stupid, bro. About, I think it was about religion and stuff and LGBTQA, and we were having this massive argument. Yeah, and it got to. I just told her, listen, I don't like what you're saying, bro. So we just sat there for 15 minutes in silence, blood, on the phone. And I just said to her, so what are we eating tonight then? And we just started cracking up. Why? Because I realized she had